What is up, good people? Jungle Inc. here. Hope you're doing well. Pretty flat day for crypto in general. Bitcoin, about break even. Ethereum, same. XRP, not a lot going on. Cardano, about a break even day. We have BNB and Chainlink up a little bit. Nothing crazy. But in the midst of the doldrums, a good day for Flare, don't we? Up about 28% on the day. Now, remember this. When Flare launched, we were at about 4 or 5 cents. So I'm not exactly popping bottles, but that's some great performance where many of us were scooping up Flare at about a cent or a cent a coin and getting rewards as well, like pretty good price action. I expect this to continue. I think today's boost was mainly due to this announcement that Google Cloud has joined the Flare network as a validator. Flare, which calls itself the blockchain for data, gives developers access to decentralized data via its Oracle system. And we see the cloud division of tech giant Google has joined the Flare blockchain as validators and infrastructure provider. So big announcement here, probably gave us a pretty good pop here in Flare. We got a long way to go on this one, I expect, as they continue to build out this blockchain, build out its feature sets, onboard D-apps. We got a long way to go. Doesn't mean there won't be pullbacks. Doesn't mean it's time to celebrate now, but I look for a lot out of Flare as we continue down this path of blockchain adoption. I think Flare is going to be a big, big winner long term here. This is one of the most perplexing rulings of the SEC's court case versus Ripple, where the judge told us, hey, if you sell XRP in the secondary market, even if you're Ripple, that's not a security offering because XRP itself essentially is a commodity. Makes a lot of sense. But what did she say about on-demand liquidity? Well, she lumped that in with the other securities offerings where Ripple was selling, XRP as an investment directly to institutions. And so Kashta here says the unanswered question really is, how can they say sell direct when the user is only holding the asset for 4 seconds and it's clearly not for investment purposes? So this is the dispute. So there's really two things here when we look at on-demand liquidity and the way we understand that it functions. Number one, the ODL customer isn't buying XRP for an investment. They're using it for its utility to send a payment. You don't have any investor, shouldn't be an investment contract. Further, we're told that they source that XRP from where? The secondary market. So what does this tell us? Well, either Judge Torres just dropped the ball, didn't bother looking at one of the big parts of the case, how Ripple actually operates their business, or there's more here than we know. I expect that when you have an ODL customer, some of those transactions, Ripple is selling XRP direct to them, and they're not sourcing that liquidity from the open market like we're told, because otherwise it would be fine. Further, they may require them to buy more XRP than they need to make the payment, hold some of it on their books. I don't know. I just find it hard to believe that Judge Torres would totally drop the ball here. I think there's probably a little more there than we know in terms of how ODL functions and how they interact with some of those customers of theirs, because there has to be some sort of direct sale to them that would make this an investment contract. And I also would think, unless she just didn't want to get into the holding period or the purpose of the buy, and that's possible, maybe they hold some on the books, or maybe she said, you know what, they're not sourcing that liquidity from the secondary market. You sell to them direct. I'm not going to comb through this and figure out what their purpose of the buy was. They bought it from you directly. I'm just going to deem it a security offering. I don't know. But either way, there's a little more here than we know as of now. And I think that's why you see them kind of rebalancing and pushing for AMMs. They're going to load up all their XRP in those AMM pools and push their customers over there to source their liquidity. And of course, they could be drawing on Ripple's liquidity or your liquidity or mine. Fees will be much lower. I think it'll be a much better deal for them. But that's all I can think. There's something more with these ODL payments where they're not sourcing the liquidity from the secondary market. They're actually getting it direct from Ripple to get that type of ruling. We'll probably find out more as this develops as well. Just saw this article, Tether crypto token increasingly favored by money launderers. Stablecoins are more popular now, and criminals are no different than regular folks. Like, they look at what tools are available to do the job. Their job is criminality, but this doesn't make stablecoins inherently bad. We know the number one thing that money launderers and criminals use is US dollars. Again, it's just a tool. People can use it for good or bad purposes. Why are we seeing this right now? I would expect, because we're going to see a big ramp up regulations for stable coins, both in the US and globally, Europe, all over the place. JP Morgan sees significant capital from existing crypto products pouring into new spot Bitcoin ETFs. I made a comment on this the other day. You got to be careful when we're looking at the current volume, what's going on, because it's not all new investors that are pouring in new capital into these Bitcoin ETFs. A lot of it comes from like Bitcoin futures and Grayscale's product, where both of those are inferior, have very high fees, and so people are exiting those investments and pouring them over into BlackRock, into ARK, and into Fidelity and other ETFs that have a much lower fee and it's just a better investment vehicle. And so I want to see all that settle down, and then of course some of the FOMO and hype from that historic launch, and that'll give us an idea of where we really stand on a daily basis, how much demand and volume is actually there in that Bitcoin ETF market. Lastly, this is kind of wacky. The SEC commenting on the hack of their X account resulting in the fake Bitcoin ETF approval announcement. I would say it wasn't fake, it was actually early. But what the SEC is saying here, well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The regulator's latest update on the hack suggests it never lost access to the account. So how is that possible? How could they be hacked but they never lost access to the account? We'll continue on here. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission said Friday its systems and devices were not breached by the party responsible for tweeting out a fake Bitcoin ETF. Well, they don't need to get on your device to steal your account, of course. So this is kind of a strange logic or reasoning here. Of course, the person didn't go in like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible down on a line and access their computer. They did some sort of SIM swap or something to that effect. And they say here, after the unauthorized post, SEC Chairman Gary Gensler published his clarification 15 minutes later, and X stepped in to let them regain access to their account. So again, that just doesn't make sense here. It's hard to say for sure who's mostly at fault. X's security is not top notch. And if I had to guess, probably the U.S. SEC probably was not on top of their security protocols either. Probably a little bit of fault on both parties here, I would suspect. Well, we need answers to this, though, because how did this happen? This isn't just some YouTuber's account. This is a U.S. government account where, someone could do a lot of damage with a fake announcement like that. Both sides have to ensure that this does not happen ever again. We don't need to see them throwing blame at each other, but how do you shore this up and make sure that this isn't a reoccurring theme? Because you can imagine if they, sent out a tweet, we're suing Elon Musk for securities fraud, and what that would do to Tesla stock and all sorts of stuff. Like, it could be really bad. They need to shore up that security and get to the bottom of how this happened. And I suspect it was probably some kind of SIM swap where someone overtook the account. Of course, they didn't overtake the actual device. That's just kind of a ridiculous statement by the SEC. Let me know what you think down below. And as always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.